All right. Let's take a look at all this stuff. Uh, Setting everything up as I do. Is my voice coming in? Let's take a look. My voice is coming in. Excellent. Now to advertise to all of my homies. Alrighty. Hello, hello for any and all joining in. Hello, hello. Trying to set some things up here. As always, I have no idea what the heck I'm doing, but I'm trying. I'm trying my darndest. Here we go. Doing this, doing that. Alrighty, where the frick is? I'm trying to look for a setting here. Okay. Hello, hello, everyone. Let's dive into what the frick am I doing today? I have been swamped with some work and other life activities, but I am going to be releasing some stuff coming up here soon, so I'll be looking forward to that. Okay. Let's take a look. Alrighty. Gosh darn it. This whole having one monitor thing really sucks when you're trying to do a lot of things at once. It really does, let me tell you. There's so many things I want to click on, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go over here, I gotta go over there. I can't tell if my productivity would get better if I got more monitors or if I just got a laptop. Because I feel like if I had a laptop, I'd be able to meander about the place and work more. Like I could go outside of my work environment and get some writing done away from certain distractions and all that. But at the same time, just sitting down and having multiple monitors would just be really great, because sometimes I lose a lot of focus when I'm trying to look left or right here. I just got a second monitor. I feel your pain. How's it going, Lady Hollow? Yeah, Yeah, I'm currently one screen gang now, and it's definitely not the greatest. It's not the most pleasant, but you got to work with what you got. You got to make it work somehow. Alrighty, alrighty. So I didn't really have consider this a second monitor and a laptop. See, the problem with that is that requires this, this thing called money, which I am always in desperate lack thereof. To give you a synopsis of my setup here, I'm currently sitting on the floor, and across the room is a TV, which my computer is hooked up to. So that's my current setup. I don't have the luxuries of chairs. I don't have the luxuries of potentially getting a second monitor. I don't have the luxury of a laptop. I lack all of those things therein. Fair, but once again, I'm not complaining. I'm just working with what I got. If I was complaining, you'd know. That being said, I actually just found out recently that you can actually do Google Word or not, or just Microsoft Word on your phone. So I might have to start doing that. I like what they because I always come up with my most creative ideas when I'm walking around. So I might just have to just sit there or not sit there. I'll be walking around outside on my hike or wherever I go, and just pulling it up, either typing it or voice to text. So I'll probably have to do that for the future. Hmm. Also, I realized my green screen isn't as sacred. There we go. Alrighty, so what the frick was I gonna work on today? I am probably just gonna continue working on one of my projects right now, which is a fairy tale themed exploration adventure location. I've really gotten into the fairy tale mood thanks to Dolmenwood, which just came out semi recently. But the thing about Dolmenwood is that Dolmenwood really lies on dark fairy tale themes, and I'm gonna go for a little bit more upbeat on regards of fairy tales. So I'm kind of working on that right now. Alrighty. So might as well pull up a little something of what I've got right now. Your Curse Strahd overview was a lifesaver for me, which led me to the Discord, then to Dragon Carta. Thanks, LL. No problem, no problem. That Curse of Strahd series, that was like, what, 51 videos, was a tremendous endeavor. But I'm still blessed to this day that people are finding it, people are loving it, people enjoy it greatly. And it's funny you mentioned Dragna Carta, because I did a video with Dragna Carta, and then I did a video with Mandy Mod, and those two videos are constantly neck and neck in regards of viewership and people telling me like, oh, I follow Mandy Mod stuff, and oh, I follow Dragna Carta stuff, so it's very funny to see that over years later at this point, it is still going strong. I did not fully well expect that. I suspected that when I made the adventure module guides, that they would get maybe like a year's worth of time, because most people would run an adventure module within a year and then move on and never touch it again. But Curse of Strahd still holds incredibly strong. So it's pretty great to see. I'm, that's why I did all of those guides for all those adventure modules, because I wanted to, wanted to help people out. That Discord is still so crazy active. Was surprised to see that. Yeah, well, once again, I find that baffling as well, because the community, I fully well suspected that it was going to be a pit stop community, like people show up and then people leave, and that's the end of the story. But there's a lot of people that are still there, still crazy active, still absolutely heavily moderated. Like that's baffling to me. Trying to think, because like I know my videos get some circulation in that community, and then but mine are purely for like people that are like, oh hey, if you want to listen to all the descriptions in the background, he no fun allowed is a second monitor kind of person. You just put him on the background. So I'm that person. But for the people that want, like, oh, here, if you want a new change or something, you check out Lunch Break Heroes, or you go here, you go there, and so I'm definitely like, background content for a lot of Curse of Strahd community people, but I'd rather be, background second monitor stuff content versus no content at all. Alrighty. Let's take a look. I am far too big on this, aren't I? First, let's make me small. Boop. And then secondly, let's move this. Boop. Alrighty. So let's see here. So I want to create a fairy tale zine where I come out with like like a grab bag for everyone, and I want there to be, a little hex flower area to explore around in. I want there to be new classes or new ancestries or new magic items, new spells, new random tables, monsters, a bunch of things like that. And I'm already working on that. The thing is, though, is currently right now I'm making for OSR content, but I also do plan on splashing it with 5e content as well. But I genuinely do not know what percentage of people are still sticking with 5e versus what percentage of people are now moving on to 2024 rules. I don't know if anyone could actually find out that information or not. I know Bob World Builder put out a poll recently. Let me actually see if I can find that. Bob World Builder. And he asked his community, like, oh, hey, how many people are sticking with 5e versus moving to 2024? But that's like, he put out that poll when? He put that poll 13 days ago with 13% of people saying yes, playing 2024. 26% saying yes, in the future we'll play it as a campaign or one-shot. 25% undecided. 26% saying nope, not interested in official D&D. And then another 10% saying nope, not interested in the 5e system. And that poll got 8,800 votes, so that's a pretty good showcasing. Like, that's a pretty good sample size. So that tells me that there's a lot of people that are still on the fence about moving to 2024 rules. I quite frankly am on the fence as well in regards of I don't want to spend that much money on such small, air quote upgrades to the system. I'd rather just homebrew 5e in the first place, but it is what it is. I know it's not super popular among my little DM circle, but everyone seems to be on the fence about it. I don't know how I feel about 2024 rules. How I feel about 2024 rules is it's literally just official homebrew. Like I mean, if you count the changes between 14 and 2024 rules, it's the exhaustion is like one of the bigger hits right there. All classes being moved to subclass at level 3. Just tiny little differences here and there and everywhere. It's just not impactful enough to make the difference. And for me, I think the most upsetting thing about moving to 2024 rules is is they're saying it's backwards compatible, but what they're really gonna do is they released the 2024 rules with a small amount of subclasses here and there, but ultimately they're just gonna resell all the things again. Like, the fighter only coming out with 3 subclasses or 4 subclasses. They're gonna re-release all the subclasses that have been coming out for the past 10 years, and they're gonna resell that. And I just don't like that. Like, I feel like they could have. I feel like they should have just moved it on to a different system, and just profited off of both 5e and the next D&D. Would you ever consider running an OSR remake campaign like B2 or S3, Keep on the Borderlands or Expedition to Barrier Peaks, or even Isle of Dread? Maybe a poll for that. So, I don't know if it's pronounced Gerald or Gerald. I am currently running an OSR West Marches campaign through my Discord. I am running an OSR campaign, and it's not using any of the alphabet series. It's not using B or the S or the T's or whatever. But it is in old school. It is old school. It is using old school essentials. It is, save or sucks. It is, hey, 3d6 down the line for your stats. You're good to go. So I am absolutely doing that. I do at some point want to run games for not necessarily this channel, but maybe another channel that I make. I'll have Let's Play channel. But yeah, I absolutely am totally down for running, Keep on the Borderlands and Expedition of Barrier Peaks. Isle of Dread, I actually have already ran Isle of Dread. I have not. Oh, and I've also ran Barrier Peaks. I have not. That's funny. I've ran Isle of Dread and Barrier Peaks, but I have not ran Borderlands, Keep on the Borderlands. Me personally, I know Keep on the Borderlands is like everyone's like classic favorite. I personally think that good old-fashioned Horror on the Hill is better than Keep on the Borderlands. I much prefer Horror on the Hill as a starting adventure versus Keep on the Borderlands. Hello, how is everyone? How's it going, Joe Wick? I am doing fan-frickin-tastic. How about yourself? We're just talking about all good things in this world, and D&D and old school and things I'm running and all that fun stuff. So yeah, I absolutely do want to create a Let's Play channel of sorts. I also want to do some solo play for the channel as well. I think solo play is definitely something that needs to be encouraged and looked at, because it's a great way for permanent, forever DMs to play the game and then to kind of sit there and think about, like, oh, hey, how would players react to everything? Can you give me some ideas, I mean, literally anything that could be used in D&D campaign where Asmodeus is the big bad evil guy? Well, first off, you could just simply run Descent into Avernus, and just, replace the ultimate end-all, be-all, big bad as Asmodeus. Just have Asmodeus as be the end-all, be-all. But me personally, if you are going to create your own campaign, here's what I would do. I would have Asmodeus be the antagonist all the way through. I would have Asmodeus be the frenemy turned ally turned traitor, turned backstabber, double spy. And I would basically have the concept of the campaign be your players are having to face some other sort of existential threat. And Asmodeus is the guy along the way that is constantly egging the party. That could be Asmodeus saying, oh, hey, you're obviously having to deal with this big bad. I'll help you out, but it's for a price. And then Asmodeus is helping the party out, but then at a peak time, Asmodeus stabs the party in the back, but then Asmodeus comes back later and says, oh, hey, guys, actually, I didn't actually backstab you. I did that to make it look like I backstabbed you. And I'd weave this tale of Asmodeus just constantly being a thorn in the player's side that they have to constantly deal with and negotiate with. And then for the surprise end-all finale, I would basically have it be that Asmodeus was the propagator of the full, existential crisis from the very beginning. And whether that be like a meteor is coming to crash into the earth and it's piloted by mind flayers, or it's whatever crazy, awesome, wackadoo existential crisis there and be, you could just have Asmodeus be the one pulling all the strings in the finale. And yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. Awesome sauce. Loved every bit of that. Thanks. No problem. No problem. I think the important thing is devils are one of the more fascinating villains because you play them to the letter of their law. You can play them as people that aren't chaotic, right? They are not nonsensical. They are not going to make a deal that doesn't benefit them, but at the same time they're also not going to do something just out of spite necessarily. Like they want something out of it. Maybe that spite could be derived from pleasure from beating their hated foe for so long, but more often than not they're going to do something for a reason. And if it's telegraphed in that way, then your players can at least understand the implications therein, and you'll have a fun old time of it. Alrighty, so for this good old fairy tale theme setting, the first one I'm going to be writing is Make Believe issue 1 here. Is a hex region, and there's gonna be a quaint little town in the center, and then I'm going to create some other stuff as well. First off, I'm going to create the Musketeer class, so that will all be about dealing with guns and swords and fun onerous chivalric stuff right there. Next up, I want a dog ancestry, and so I'm doing OSR, so there's going to be both a race as class, and there's also going to be a separate just ancestry by itself. And then now onto magic items. I'm gonna have there be a church involved, so I'm gonna start things off with some holy items to some repute, so holy salts, flails, and censers, and gonna throw more into the mix. I'm gonna have fairy tale themed spells. I want the fairy tale themed spells to be unique, charming, and most important of all, not just all involved in combat. Like, yeah, there will be some that'll be involved in combat, but I want spells that aren't just all combat all day, every day. Random tables, monsters, game advice, an adventure setting. The adventure setting for this zine is going to be a haunted house, and a whole bunch of other things therein. So, going over... I'm going to skip the hex region for now. I'll save that one for last because I want to get an idea of what I'm going to be planting into the hex region therein. But this subclass, I just want to go over this to make sure it looks all nice and pretty. It is a musketeer. You need dex and strength, but the prime requisite is dex and charisma because you want to be a charming, debonair, sort of swashbuckling musketeer. They cannot use shields. They can use swords, daggers, polearms, firearms, and crossbows. Musketeers are proficient in both melee and ranged combat. They get a +1 to attack rolls when wielding either a sword or a firearm, leading into the idea of, the classic musketeer vibe. But when musketeers may use firearms, I'm probably going to add rulings on guns throughout this series. Every time I run OSR systems, I run damage differently. Currently, in my West Marches game that I'm running right now, you do damage equal to your hit dice. So a fighter does a d8 of damage, but then a cleric does a d6 of damage, and then a magic user would do a d4 of damage. Shout out to No Fun. Thanks for all that you do, bud. Thank you, Justin. Thank you. How's it going? How is it hanging? But ultimately, guns. You know, I'm thinking about like my next rendition of how I'm gonna be doing damage. For this one, I might do the following: all weapons do a d6 of damage. However, air quote slow weapons like pole arms, heavy swords, crossbows, and guns, I might have them do a d10 of damage. So that way you get a healthy variety therein, and all the weapons will have like a special tag. Like the sword allows you to parry, the you know going forth. I'm trying to think of the flail, for example. The flail overcomes shields, etc., etc. What do you think will be the first 6th edition module? So they have already stated, Knickknack, that they plan on doing a adventure anthology of involving dragons. I have not heard, and have you heard anything on the next module from Wizards of the Coast? Yeah, so I believe they stated that it's going to be an adventure anthology because, they saw that the adventure anthologies went over relatively well. They reviewed semi-decently compared to some of the more linear ones, and it allows DMs to not have to run a big ol' epic saga. Because unfortunately, if you look at like the big ol' huge modules, it takes forever to run them. Like if you run a standard group for 3 hours, it takes ages to run through those modules. So having an adventure anthology just makes more sense because more people get to play through them. So yeah, we're seeing a anthology on dragons. I don't know if they stated anything about any theme beyond then. It's just gonna be dragons. I don't know, but let me take a look at that. D&D Wizards of the Coast release schedule, because they may have updated that some. So Dragon Anthology coming summer of 2025. The new collection of 10 short adventures will be the first book to use the DD24 rules. As the name suggests, each adventure is focused around one particular dragon. The adventures will be suitable for a range of character tier levels and can be played together or run as individual or one-shots. There you go. Like the Yawning Portal? Yeah, pretty much. Except I assume instead of like the Yawning Portal is basically a whole bunch of old school modules made for the new edition. This one is going to be new adventures. And then after that, in the fall of 2025, there will be the starter set, which will be a new version of Keep on the Borderlands. So that one, so the D&D starter set will now be a old school or rendition of an old school adventure. Very interesting. And beyond that, they have not released any idea about any other adventure modules. They are just cooking up the Forgotten Realms adventures. If you want to take a look at all that, let me go ahead and copy it down for you there. Do you know if they have talked about the monster manual recently? I've been really concerned about what it's going to look like. They only thing that they've stated about the monster manual is that one is going to have over 500 individual creatures. There's going to be some new creatures, but it's obviously going to be just mostly what we've already seen before, and then they're just going to add their little tweaks here and there. I don't know how I feel about the new monster stat blocks. Mind you, I don't like 5e stat blocks anyway because they take up a full page and they're super annoying to read. But that's not going to change ultimately. Let me go ahead and pull up here a D&D 24 monster stat block. Let me see if I can get a picture of this. Let me get that. So this stat block compared to, I guess I'll just pull up D&D 5e stat block. D&D 5e monsters stat block. I mean, so looking through, I'm here for the 5e stat blocks. Oh, yeah. So first off, going, we're gonna work all the way top from bottom here. First off, the names haven't changed. Secondly, the size, class, description. Tiny celestial lava good. Yeah, that hasn't changed. I do like them shortening AC, HP, and all that because I don't need to like. That takes up so much space. Like, look how much wasted space is in that top right corner there. So much wasted space. And unfortunately, here there's also some wasted space, but I feel like they could change. They should have shifted some stuff around. Hopefully, they do. I don't understand, however. So we get a reduction here on AC, our armor class going down to AC. We get a reduction here on hit points coming down to HP. Why isn't there an acronym for speed and initiative? Like there could easily be an acronym for speed and initiative. They could have kept the acronym thing consistent there. Next up, the stats. I do like. Well, man, I really don't like both of them. I really don't like both of them. So ultimately, in 5e and conversely in 2024 rules, there is next to no rules that involve with dealing with opponent's stat lines at all whatsoever. Mind you, in my version of 2024 rules, which I'm cooking up right now, there will be things that affect enemy stats, like they go up or down or whatever. But so actually for the instances of that, this stat block will be good for my system. But for 2024 rules raw, I don't think this is good because you are just spending so much wasted time having to like, oh hey, like my opponent's got a 17 dex. Okay, let me actually scroll on over. Okay, what does 17 actually mean? Right? I don't understand why there was such a heavy emphasis on the stat itself versus the mod and the save. I feel like those should have been more prominent elsewhere. So, yeah, I'm a bit confused about that. Oh, I didn't know they released 2024 stat blocks. My main concern is how they are changing the monsters fundamentally. My biggest problem with 5th is that the abilities were so boring. Almost have to use action oriented, but that isn't perfect either. So once again, in my version of D&D, I'm going to have all monsters instead of them just always rolling to attack AC. Instead, sometimes they'll cause enemy like their opponents to make deck saves, strength saves, int saves, wit saves, charisma saves, whatever. Sometimes you'll have to make contested checks, things like that. Because unfortunately, just always having it be, okay, I roll to attack, +5 to hit. Okay, I hit, I do 2d6 damage. That's relatively boring a lot of the time. So going down, for skills, the skills are the same, but of course this stat block in particular doesn't have saving throw bonuses or anything. But the saving throw bonus is locked on to the side here. So I don't know if they'll have, when you come across legendary monsters, if they'll have like a saving throw little block right here. Resistance isn't on this particular creature name one here, but I know that hasn't changed. Senses hasn't changed. Language hasn't changed. The CR hasn't changed. But what is interesting is the following. they are still keeping with XP. That is something I thought they were going to get rid of, quite frankly. I genuinely believed that Wizards of the Coast was going to drop the notion of XP from monsters. Because from my knowledge, like from whatever I've seen, whatever heard, what I've seen polled, etc., almost no one runs a D&D game with XP from monsters. Give them drain level to make players truly hate their lives and rage quit forever. That's the pro stat right there. You are so underrated. Have you ever thought of doing some collabs in the community? Also, would love the solo adventures be something similar to Esper, or would you be using a new AIDM from D&D Beyond? It would probably be... I have not watched Esper's solo plays, but it would probably be something along the lines of me just, rolling up everything. Like, it would be non-AI functionality. Or maybe there would be some AI functionality, but not from D&D Beyond, but there'd be AI functionality in regards of I'd have like a chat GPT up, and I'd say, okay, I want you to create, 5 hexes and populate each of them with something, a place of interest and traps and monsters and things like that. And then I'd explore it. So that could be a possibility. And also, thank you so much. In regards to collabing, I used to do that a while ago. I used to collab with a bunch of people all the time. I just haven't recently. Just haven't gotten around to it. I don't... something very important is collabing requires you putting your foot in the door, and I'm not someone that typically puts my foot in the door. I usually wait for people to come to me, but I'm not cool and popular enough yet for people to come to me. Alrighty, moving on. Once again, I'm surprised by the XP thing. I don't know what the PV plus 2 is. I'll have to do some investigating on that later. Magic traits, once again, the traits is the same. I know that on a other character sheet it would look like that. Actions, normal. Reactions, normal. Burst of ingenuity. Sphinx or creature may be able to check a second throw. But yeah, so here's the pro difference. Here is there is a new bolded word called response, and trigger and response. So this stat block is saying, conversely, all stat blocks are going to be saying this. Trigger, and the trigger is once someone does this, then the response is do that. I like it. Like, it's very, you know what it is? You know what trigger and response is? That's literally Magic the Gathering. They are turning monsters into Magic the Gathering cards, which I think is a good thing, right? I think, how this, you could print this thing out as a card, right? Like, this is a monster card. And it, in response to you doing this, I play, so you have the Sphinx of Wonder in the party. The Sphinx of Wonder or another creature within 30 feet makes an ability check or a saving throw. You say, in response, I add 2 to the roll, I actually think that's a really good design. I am actually props to them. Because that is not the verbiage at all that they would do for 5e. That is really good. That's a fantastic idea. D&D is a game about making a story, and saying you swing your sword and do 1d6 damage on your turn is done isn't very immersive. Each action should have a noticeable impact. Absolutely. Can't confirm, pretty lame. I think PB is proficiency bonus. So, I don't understand why they're obsessed with proficiency bonus for monsters. Like, proficiency bonus for, like, the PCs makes perfect sense because it shows over the course of gameplay, oh, hey, player, you've been doing that same thing over and over, but now that you're a higher level, you're doing it better. But monsters don't act like that. Monsters are just always, they have that bonus to hit. So you don't need to have any sort of functionality in regards of proficiency bonus for the monsters just say that instead of if you've got a goblin but then a goblin war chief, the goblin does a +4 to attack, and the goblin war chief does a +6 to attack. You don't need to tell me that's a proficiency bonus +2. Just tell me, like, oh hey, the goblin has a +6 to attack. Completely agree. Most people will think that's a bad thing. Yeah, very strange. Very strange. But overall, I think the new stat block is decent for in some ways, but I am not a fan of the stats. Once again, I'm a fan for the stats for my version of D&D, but for everyone's version of D&D, I don't understand why stats matter. Stats are next to non-existent in interaction, functionality, or anything of the sort. You don't need to tell me that the creature has a 15 intelligence, and then all of a sudden directly below it say that they have a +4 to their arcana and a +4 to the religion. I don't care about that, right? Like, tell me what its bonus is right then and there. The stats don't matter. Referring to the card design. Sorry, it being like Magic the Gathering more specifically. Yeah. So I think the reaction there being like, the problem with 5e stat blocks, this one is not exactly the greatest showcasing of that, but let me find an even worse 5e monster stat block. Let me find an egregious example of a regular 5e stat block here. Found a great example of an egregious one. So there is just so much to read with the stat block, right? And I don't want to have to spend time reading the monster. I really, really don't. There is times as a DM where I simply don't care about having to spend the minutes it takes to read a monster stat block. This stat block isn't even the most egregious. This stat block is one of many stat blocks that are bad, but obviously there are stat blocks that are way worse, where you have to read, okay, it's got 5 traits, it's got multiple attacks, each of those attacks has a little something special going on with it. I don't want to have to read all the time. I really don't. I have a player that likes to argue about reactions, so having the trigger detailed in that regard will be beneficial, at least for DM sanity. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm absolutely a absolute big fan of trigger and response. When player or when X happens, do Y. Simple. Absolutely simple. Keep it simple. I can't express enough how oftentimes there is complexity added for complexity's sake that is unnecessary and doesn't add anything of any worthwhile note of value. Sometimes just having something simple makes it seamlessly smooth and functions well and is absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I'm just I'm still I wonder how many iterations of like the thought process of the stat block. I don't like being triggered. No one likes being triggered, and nobody does. That's the whole point. But I'm genuinely curious how much thought process went into, hey, we want to express it to the DMs and presumably the players that have like monsters or whatever under their command. We want to express the stats therein. How do we do that? How do we tell them the plus to their saving throws? How do we tell them the bonuses therein? How do we do that? And they landed on this. I mean, it's very good in regards of the saving throw, but I'm just not a fan that, once again, the saving throw is easily the most come up thing in regards of a monster stat block. Per rules as written. Easily the most important thing. I would much rather have the saving throw be the most bolded thing there. And then per once again, if once again for raw, I wouldn't even bother with the stats at all. For raw, I would simply have it be, the plus to the mod, if that's even relevant to anything at all whatsoever. I don't know, looks like they changed a lot of stuff just to make it look different. They definitely... I'll tell you what, I think the overall, UI design is cleaner of the modern stat block versus the old one. I think this one is boring to look at. I think this one is uglier to look at. I think I'm not a fan of that red, like the brownish red that they're using here versus I'm okay with the darker brown here. I like... I tell you what, I also really like the I don't know if I really like it, but I mean, I like the differentiation therein of the traits in particular, in regards of how like the the font size or the font in general. Like I like the word. I like the way the words look better in this new one. I'm just like so fixated on that stat block. I just like D&D doesn't care about monster stats. They don't. Actually, I genuinely can't think of any edition of D&D where the enemy stats mattered. I'm trying to think throughout the history of D&D, are there spells besides Feeble Mind where your enemy's stats is reflected to some varying capacity? Like, can you increase their strength through buffs or decrease their strength through debuffs? I genuinely don't know. It does look cleaner, but I guess I was hoping they would put some immersion into it for fun. The problem is immersion costs money, and they're obviously averse to doing that. Alrighty. Let me go back to this one. But overall, I mean, I think they, I think they're doing some decent work there. Overall. Alrighty. Well, yeah, I walked into that one. Hello. Once again, I am truly disappointed from a fundamental level in regards of modern D&D, in that when you look at every edition, numbered edition of D&D, every edition has been different. First edition, like the smallest change being from first edition to second edition, that had less changes, but there were still significant changes. But third edition was a tremendously big change. Fourth edition, tremendously big change. Fifth edition, tremendously big change. And unfortunately, when it came to 2024 rules, they didn't put in the effort to make that tremendous change. And I understand why. It's because 5th edition made them a lot of money, so they're going to reprint 5th edition again with some subtle changes here and there to resell the product, because it made money the last time. It's going to make money again. But they are a multi-million-dollar company. They could have innovated the tabletop role-playing game sphere, right? They are the biggest company by a credible margin. They make way more money than everyone else by a significant margin. They can and should be the innovators in the TTRPG space. Unfortunately, they are not innovating with this newest system. And yeah, I'm truly disappointed in that regard. I would love for them to be the ones to champion for new changes and new thoughts and new game design philosophies and everything therein. They just didn't. Instead, the majority of the change that you see is in small things like the OSR or the new SR or whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of different, like core concepts and changes and things like that. Instead, it's just about everyone else. They also drove away Larian Studios, which was the best thing that ever happened to Wizards of the Coast. It is amazing that Baldur's Gate, right? Baldur's Gate 3 is regarded as the best game ever, right? But I promise you that Baldur's Gate is going to be in the top 100 best games ever of all time for ages to come. Baldur's Gate 3 was regarded as Game of the Year by hundreds of outlets. It turned so many people that don't even know about D&D into D&D. Baldur's Gate 3 was incredible. And for some reason, Wizards of the Coast kept shackles on them the whole time. For some reason, Wizards of the Coast didn't want to let them go forth and champion great things. I'm so flabbergasted by this. Ultimately, Wizards of the Coast is trying to sell their own virtual tabletop system. And I'm willing to suspect the bigwigs at Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro probably saw that Baldur's Gate would be in contention with their new tabletop role-playing game platform, virtual tabletop platform. So I'm willing to bet that's where that contention comes from. I'm willing to bet that is the case. But even still, that is just incredibly dumb. Oh no, my freaking watch lost its little claspy. I wonder where the heck did that go? Oh no, I found it. It's right there. Perfect. But it's just still just absolutely egregious. Baldur's Gate 3 should have absolutely been incorporated into the line of Wizards of the Coast a lot more, but it just wasn't. So strange. I don't get it. Alrighty. So looking at my new class here for the system. So as I was saying, firearms for the next version, for my new version of OSR system here. I think I'm gonna have pistols be a D6 of damage and then a D10 for muskets. Because I think what's gonna happen is all weapons are D6, but all slow weapons, meaning two-handed swords, pole arms, and crossbows and guns, are gonna be doing a D10 of damage. So you will at least have that variety therein. Alrighty, Dueling Master. So at 3rd level, when fighting with a one-handed sword and no shield, the Musketeer gains a +1 bonus to AC and an additional +1 bonus to attack rolls. So in traditional OSR, shield gives you a +1 to AC. So this one gives you essentially the benefit of that shield. But obviously there are times when you want a shield, because sometimes you might come across shields that have more pluses or whatever the case may be. What about Gatling guns and cannons? I am probably not going to incorporate Gatling guns at all whatsoever. But in regards of cannons may be a thing. Maybe. But I'm going to stick with muskets for now. Quick reload at 4th level. Beginning at 4th level, the Musketeer can reload a firearm as a movement action instead of taking a full round. So that'll be a big one, because normally you fire round 1, round 2 you reload, round 3 you fire again. But instead therein, you can have it be where Being at 4th level, the Musketeer can reload the firearm as part of their movement. So that way there'll be some, like if you're willing to stay put, just standing right there, you can keep on firing, whereas everyone else, like the fighters or whoever else uses guns, they'll be lagging behind. But at least they have the option to move around. And then at 5th level, also I need to move this over. I'm a little too big, aren't I? Boop. Boop. And then, starting at 5th level, the Musketeer can take the full round to aim with a firearm. On their next attack, they gain a +2 bonus to hit and automatically deal maximum damage if the attack hits. I think that's a fair compromise. You can spend your time aiming, and then if you hit, boom, you do more damage. That's what he said. Listen here, guy. Need to top off on my water here. Alrighty, so I think that's a fun little addition to the Musketeer. I don't know if I want to incorporate anything else for the Musketeer, because I need to actually, you know what? Come with me on a journey through classes here, because I want to see. Do you get anything at higher levels for any other things? Do you get anything else at higher levels other than the classic go-to of at 9th level you can build a stronghold? Let's take a look. Let's start off with looking at old school essentials in particular. Alrighty, so Cleric. Cleric gets all of their features right from the get-go, and then, of course, as they level up, they get new spells, and then at 9th level, they can establish a Stronghold. Dwarf gets all of the things, and then at Stronghold, Elf gets all their things. Fighter, just immediately, they can do whatever they want. Halfling, immediately get all their stuff. Thief, they progressively get better over time, and that's the end of the story. Now let's look at Acrobat. Acrobat, once again, front-loaded with all her stuff. Assassin. Assassin gets a weird thing, which is Assassins, hirelings. Assassins of 1st to 3rd level may not employ retainers or hirelings. From 4th level, an assassin may hire other assassins of lower level. From 8th level, an assassin may hire thieves, and from 12th level, any type of character. Very peculiar that assassins are just like, hey, no hirelings, no retainers, no nobody. Barbarians, I do know barbarians get something. Agile fighting. Upon reaching 4th level, a barbarian gains a +1 AC. This increases to +2 at 6th, +3 at 8th, and a +4 at 10th. And also, at 4th level, a barbarian of 4th level or higher is able to hit monsters that can normally only be harmed by magic. Cool stuff. Bard. I do know Bard also upgrades over time as well. In addition to them being spellcasters. Types of subjects that they can enchant. At 1st level, the Bard can fascinate persons. At 4th level, animals can also be affected. At 7th level, monsters may be affected. Very interesting. That also helps you survive 10 Hydra attacks when going for a swim. How's it going, David? And once again, I want to reemphasize that the chances of you surviving that encounter, or we'd have to run the numbers on you surviving that encounter, but I'm willing to bet like 9 times out of 10 you do not survive that encounter. I'm willing to bet 9 times out of 10 that Hydra eats you alive. Let's see, Drow doesn't get anything over time. Druid doesn't get anything over time. Dwergar don't get anything over time, I don't think. No, they don't. Gnomes don't. Half-elves don't. Half-orcs don't. LOL is getting ready to roll a new character. I mean, you probably, but hey, you could have taken over one of your retainers there, so you could have finally been the dog. Illusion doesn't get anything. Knight does get something over time. At 5th level, a knight. Well, first off, at 3rd level, you become a knight. Then you gain the benefit of being immune to fear and gain the +4 bonus against hold, and you can actually save against sleep. So knights actually unlock a little bit over time. And then at 5th level, they get the flying mount, which is pretty dope. Paladin, at 4th level, they get the warhorse. Cool stuff. Ranger, they just get better over time with all their stats. Svirfneblin, same thing. So, around that then. I think my musketeer is kind of in line with that then, as they get all their stuff. That immediately at level 1 they get a +1 bonus to attacks with sword and firearms, and then later on they get the dueling master and then the quick reload and the marksman's eye. I think that's pretty well done there. I'm gonna keep that for now. And as for their XP progression, I'm going to say that they have to get 2,200 XP to level up, because they're just above fighters in their fighting repertoire. Alrighty, so Dogfolk, though. I'm going to have Dogfolk as they get AC bonus over time. But what separates them from a Barbarian is that Dogfolk can wear armor, all armor, versus the Barbarian. They get that AC bonus because they can only wear up chainmail. The Dogfolk can wear any armors. And then they get the Dogfolk skill of Hear Noise and Sniff Smell. And I'm placing their progression at 2,500 XP. And I believe for the Dogfolk, I'm probably going to cap them at 10th level, putting them in line with such things as like the elf and all that stuff. So that's that for that. Furries? Listen here, guy. I hate to break it to you, but furries dominate the market. So yeah, if you don't appeal to them, you're wrong. I hate to break it to you. Alrighty. So in regards to magical items, for this zine, I'm going to be incorporating more along the lines of... My only question is, Dogfolk, can Dogfolk be Corgi? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny. I'm thinking of another setting that I'm going to be doing in regards of it will be like a play on Root. If anyone knows what Root is good old fashioned animals in a forest. They're all anthropomorphic. And I was thinking of like how many dog variations there could or should be, other than just dog and wolf. Because for all those other ones, I'm going to be having like, oh hey, you can be a snake or a lizard or whatever, a bunch of birds, a bunch of raccoon, possum, all the classic woodland creatures. So I've been thinking about how many dogs there should be in that one. Pug, dog folk for sure. You know what it is? It's probably something along the lines of your stats are probably indicative of what you are. So if you're a pug, you probably have like really low intelligence. Versus if you're a corgi, you probably have like high charisma. Things like that. Alright, so I'm going to be adding more magical items along the lines of holy things, such as the censer, the holy salts, etc., etc. But... those I'll be coming up with. I've already got an idea of several other holy things. Now on to spells. For this verse zine, I probably want to add 4 spells. So let's say 4 new spells. So if everyone in chat could just give me like a spell name, something fairy tale themed setting, something fairy tale adjacent, I could start working with something. Because this whole zine is going to be about, you know, fairy tales. Because, once again, Dolmenwood, which just came out, is on the darker side of fairy tale. And my make-believe setting is going to be on the lighter side of fairy tale. Trying to think here. Whimsical Foxfire. I do like the idea of a Foxfire spell. That's a good one. And also something very important is when it comes to all these spells, they're not all just going to be combat spells. I'm going to have, you know, I'm going to have other spells as well. There's going to be, you know, exploration, roleplay, world building spells, you know. It's not always about killing the bad guys. Sometimes you can have spells that assist in all sorts of various activities. Beauty's Allure. Man, good thing. Thank goodness for autocorrect, let me tell you. Because I certainly would not be able to function without that. A charm spell. Okay. So I've got an idea brewing in my head. Just two more names. Pool of Potential Prophecy. I like it. I like it. Oh, am I alive? Am I dead? What happened? OBS cut out for like a second. Goodness gracious. Looks like I'm alive. Oh, goody. Oh, goody. Alrighty, one more spell. One more fairy tale theme spell. Because I've already got a bunch, like, in my mind. We see you. You know what? Illustrious Illusion and Sleeping Frost. I dig it. Alrighty, so those are fantastic. So let's dive in. What makes a spell a spell? So once again, you know, all compared to the contemporary here, Dolmenwood. So let me go all the way to spells for this one, and all that, so that way I can show you guys off Dolmenwood, which is a fantastic product here. Boom. PDF. Boom. Alrighty, what makes a spell a spell? It has a name, it's got a duration, it's got a range, and it's got a tiny bit of fluff, and then it just tells you what it does. And that is something that I find is incredibly important. One, for staging all these spells, because the creator of this, Gavin Norman, he always tries to keep everything on a page spread here, which is very, very awesome. Like, you want to know all the level 1 spells? Boom, you look at this right here. You can see them all right here. It's fantastic. And so, like, I appreciate the fluff. You know, when it comes to like 5e spells, I appreciate the little, you know, the 1 or 2 sentence fluff about what it does every once in a while. But a lot of times, you know, it just is unnecessary. It gets in the way. Sometimes I just want to know what the spell does, like by the letter of the law. So let's take a look at. Goodness, come on, PDF. Here we go. Ingratiate. Enchants a small object with the power to charm a person who willingly accepts it as a gift. Recipient. A single mortal, fairy, or demi-fae who accepts the enchanted object must save versus spell or be charmed. Restrictions. Large creatures or those below sentient intelligence are immune. Charm duration. The charm lasts indefinitely, but the subject makes a further wisdom save versus spell once per day. If one of those saves succeeds, the charm ends. Friendship. The subject regards the caster as a close friend and comes to the caster's defense. Commands. If they share a language, the caster may give the charmed subject commands, which they obey. Resisting commands. The subject resists commands that contradict their habits or alignment. Suicidal or clearly harmful commands are always refused. You know, that spell right there, this Ingratiate spell, it does not, get in the way, right? Like everything you need to know, every possible scenario, it tells you right there, like, how it functions, how it works. And I want to create spells that are that well worded. Ooh, Ignite, Extinguish. Manifest one of the following spell effects when cast. Ignite. One stream of sparks per level of the caster shoot from the caster's hand toward one or more targets. Targeted light sources are ignited. Targeted creatures must save versus rare, suffer 1 damage per stream of sparks directed at them. Man, so you're level 3 wizard. You can do 3 damage to someone. Watch out. And that's only if they fail all their saves. Whirling zephyrs instantly snuff out up to 1 flame per level of the caster. Flames up to the size of the burning torch may be affected. If a flame is held by a creature, they may save versus spells to prevent the flame being extinguished. This is a dope spell for both players and DMs. If your players are all having to walk around with a torch and someone casts the extinguish spell on them, you better hope that all the torchbearers save versus spell, or else you're screwed. You're just going to be in the dark. That's a really good spell. The Ignite portion is obviously really bad in offensive capabilities, but the Ignite spell is really good in regards of, causing fire to be spread about all over the place. I really like that spell. Alrighty, so that's just a showcasing of all that there. That's just fantastic. So Fox Fire spell, for first off, I want to have a duration and a range. And then, boom. Need to do that for all of them. Boom, boom, boom. Oh! Boom, boom. Alrighty. What is going on around there? Oh, goodness. Alrighty, so the duration of Foxfire. What does Foxfire do? Are we going to lean in on Foxfire being... Are we going to lean in on it being, attacky? Are we going to lean in on it being illusory? Are we going to lean in on... What are we going to lean in on with this one? I'm leaning toward illusion with this one. So, I'm going to say that the duration is going to be 1 turn, range 60 feet. Well, per old school, I'm going to put a little indentation there. And I'm going to say for this one, this probably beguiles people. And if they fail their save, then they suffer a -2 attacks. Let's see here. I'm actually curious about, any... It's funny, what is the historical, air quote historical, relevance of Foxfire fantasy? Well, Foxfire is apparently a cougar's den. That is somewhere around here. Uh, Folklore. Foxifier. It appears in large numbers of floating orbs of light, usually only a few centimeters. Gosh darn it. They appear, the orbs are bright as lanterns, in most cases red or orange, and sometimes blue, green, or in color. The orbs appear at night, often in chains, as if they were lanterns being carried by invisible bearers. Oh, you know what? Screw the whole charming thing. I'm gonna lean in on it. It makes you invisible, but it provides a light. I like that idea. Alrighty, so yeah, screw that. So I'm gonna say this goes for one turn per caster level. And then range is going to be self. The caster becomes invisible under the light of a orb. The orb. In the light of an orb. Good old English there. The orb provides light. The orb hovers over the caster and sheds light out to 30 feet. The caster becomes invisible under the light of an orb. The orb hovers over the caster and sheds light out to 30 feet. I think the duration needs to be buffed then. So I'm going to say it's going to be... The duration is 3 plus 1 turn per caster level. I think I think we're going to go for that for now. Dang it. OBS, once again, kicking down. What's going on? OBS, what are you doing? I wonder, like, my internet is not kicking out. It is just purely on OBS. Very interesting. Unless my internet is like literally flicking out for a millisecond, but I don't think that's the case. Oh well. Okay. Next up, Beauty's Allure. Beauty's Allure is going to be a self-charm spell, or self, it's going to be a charm spell, but it makes you look pretty. What does, once again, let's take a look at Dolmenwood here. What do we got? In regards of charm person. Visibility. Makes you have to roll a save to not fall in love with yourself. But the problem is what if you're already in love with yourself? And also the other problem is, what if you want to love yourself and thus you just automatically just choose to fail the save? Is there no charm person in Dolmenwood? That's fascinating. Let me see if there is charm. Place a powerful charm. Flame charm. That's a glamour. Sway the mortal mind. A single mortal must save versus spells every charmed by fairy magic. Friendship, command, resisting commands, etc., etc. Interesting. So there is no charm. There's no flat out just charm spell in Dolmenwood. You cannot auto fail. You must pass to love yourself. Oh man, you gotta. Man, that's a tough one. You're like really trying with that one. You're like, God, I want to feel myself again. Beauty's allure. You know, you're actually onto something. Maybe it's not a charm spell. Maybe it's a buff spell. Maybe it is flat out a buff for yourself. I'm trying to think of mechanically wise, like how would Beauty's allure buff yourself? Because I'm down those two lines. It's either going to be a buff or it's going to be a charm. What's it going to be? How about... Because I don't want to just be like if it's a charm spell, I don't want it to just be like, oh hey, you know, for X turns they love you or whatever. I want it to be like something a bit more interesting. So let me once again look at Dolmenwood here, and what do they have in regards of the charms? So ingratiate is they have to accept a gift, and then they'll fall in love with you. Does it actually say charmed in there? Charm. Yeah. Let me see if I can charm. Boom, 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 boom. Dominate is a powerful charm. Dominate's a creepy charm, of course. Flame charm is not much of a charm against people. Sway the mortal mind is a charm. Fairy steed. A dashing fairy horse. Fleet of foot and charming of wit. Not the charm I was looking for, but... Scudder for Mike, hello everyone. Scudder for Mike, how's it going? Have you checked out Dolmenwood yet? Me thinks, Scudder for Mike, you would really love doing a solo adventuring of Dolmenwood, because my God, is there a lot of info jam-packed, not only for players but for DMs. There's a lot of great referees. There's a lot of great procedural play involved. So like this is easily one of the greatest like solo play OSR derivatives I've seen in quite some time. Fantastic stuff. Sway the mind. A single creature of any kind, person or beast, must save versus spell or be charmed by fairy magic. Fairies gain a +4 bonus to the save. They're I'm looking for Charm Serpents, always a classic. Bird Friend, Lock Singer. I was waiting for it for so long, didn't realize it's released. Oh man, well the PDF, if you pre-ordered it, the not pre-ordered it, but if you kickstarted it, the PDFs are in your possession now. The physical books will be coming a little bit later. Okay, so great stuff there. I am going to lean in on... I'm going to lean on the charm side of things with Beauty's Allure here. I'm going to say that it will be... let's go with 6 plus 1 turn per caster level. Range will be self, and it's not lovely, it's self. And it will be you become almost unnaturally beautiful. Once again, I am terrible at typing. $10 from Caliber. Good review on Dolmenwood. Convinced me to try it eventually. Did you take any inspiration for that for your West Marches? I certainly did not. If I did, every single hex that you guys go to through my West Marches campaign would be jam-packed full of excellent content. Mine does not have that. But thank you so very much for that $10. Thank you so very much. That goes an incredibly long way. And for the West Marches, I may have to have Gabe maybe survive another round of monster attacks or two. Thank you so much. Absolutely incredible stuff. But I am absolutely enthralled with Dolmenwood. The campaign, like just everything is just so well just placed. Everything is so well done. Everything is just so beautiful. I absolutely love it. You can choose. So during you become you almost unnaturally beautiful. Plus one of my next death save, exactly. Exactly. When all the monsters go to attack the party, for some reason, they all run around Gabe and attack everyone else. That might have to happen. Listen, I make no app like there's no disillusionment at all whatsoever. I am a pay to win DM. I run free to play games, but if you give me money, you may end up in a better spot than everyone else. Alrighty, you become almost unnaturally beautiful. Your reaction rolls gain a +1. You command a +1 to loyalty. And if you exert for some reason I thought there was a C in exert. I wonder why. If you exert your allure on an individual as an action, you can cause what's the verbiage? Do the save versus the subject the subject must make a save versus charms or be charmed by you for 1 we'll say 1 day per caster level you're charmed. At the end of which they may make a save against charms again. Overboard, what up? What up, Overboard? How is it hanging? We are going over some things, answering questions, and going over, some good old Dolmenwood, some fairy tale setting and theme stuff. Absolutely fantastic stuff. And I'm creating my own little version of fairy tale adventure setting. Did I just... I did. Okay. Alrighty, next up for a new spell, Pool of Potential Prophecy. Something I need to place in here is what these spells are, who can cast them, and what level they are. So for Foxfire spell, I'm going to say that this is a magic user level 1 spell. For Beauty's Allure, I'm going to say that this will be a... I've actually got a list here. Let me see if I can bring this up here. I've got a list of new classes I want to introduce, so maybe it'll go into one of those new ones. Let me pull this up here. Okay, let me zoop. Should hide that. And that thing goes over here. Alrighty. So I'm going to be adding a knight, a witch, face trickster, woodland guardian, song weaver, cursed hero, fairy, just a whole bunch of things here. Who would be casting Beauty's Allure? Some type of charmer, some type of trickster. So maybe it will be. I'll place witch for now. I'll mark it as a witch spell for now. So witch level 1 spell. Alrighty, so Pool of Potential Prophecy. I believe I saw a class in there that I want to use it on. Let me just go ahead and pop this up again. Song Weaver, Cursed Hero, Dreamwalker. It might be a Dreamwalker. Dope spell, Agdon's Legendary Triumph. Oh, goodness gracious. I'm going to actually write that down as a new spell. I'm obviously not going to keep it as Agdon because of copyright reasons, but Agdon's Legendary Triumph. I do like the idea of like a Legendary Triumph spell of some repute. I dig that a lot. Alrighty, so who is a Prophesizer? Who is going to be casting that spell? I think that might have to be a Dreamwalker. Dreamwalker sounds about right. Dreamwalker level 1. Let's have it be a level 2 spell. We'll get spicy. We'll start upping the ante here. Alrighty, what is Pool of Potential Prophecy? What the frick is this spell? What the fuck? Name is the most important part, but I can't use Agdon. I can't. It's not allowed. I can't do it. Wizard of the Coast will string me up for that. Alrighty, Pool of Potential Prophecy. What are we looking at for this spell? Are we looking at a... Are we looking at, like, is this going to be a, like, hey, the DM tells you wheel or woe kind of thing? Or are we looking at a, you get a mechanical inclination kind of thing? You can do anything you set your mind to. I can get sued. You are correct. If I so desired, I could go out of my way to get sued. You are correct. I'm currently leaning on the following: pool of potential prophecy. I am leaning in on you declare a saving throw, and for the day, if you have to roll that saving throw, you'll get a bonus to it. That's currently my idea of it. I'll ramble some more here. Maybe potentially do something else with it, but that might be what I'm doing. You declare like 1, 2, or 3 saving throws, and then if you have to make that saving throw, then you gain a bonus for that day. Alrighty, yeah, so I'll do that. Duration is let's go. Let's go. Until sleep. Actually, I haven't even done up the Dreamwalker class yet, but a lot of things that work until sleep or during sleep or after sleep, I think that might be the play there with all their spells. So I'm already glad I did that. Range self. Declare. You declare. Let's say declare 3 different saving throws until you sleep. You gain a plus. We'll say you gain a plus. I'm leaning on like either a +3 or +4. I'll go +4 for now. Gain a +4 to that save. I ran into the problem of I can't, like, you can't just have it be like you get a +4 to that save permanently. So I've got to do something along the lines of you can declare 3 different saving throws, which can be the same one taken multiple times. So the idea there is, like, if you know you're going up against the dragon, you can do this spell, and then you can say like, oh, I declare that I'm going to have 3 saves versus breath, and then boom, you'll get that bonus to saves. But then you can spread it out. You can say like, oh, I want a save to breath, a save to magic, and a save to paralysis, things like that. I think that's a fair spell right there. Next up, Illustrious Illusion. That will absolutely be a Fey Trickster spell. And we'll go level 1 for now. What is Illustrious Illusion? What is it? What are we looking for here? What are we after? Let me go ahead and pop back over to Dolmenwood. Boop. So we can get a sort of compare and contrast. kind of fun illusions are we having here? Beguilement. The caster's words have great power over mortal minds. A single mortal addressed by the caster must say versus spell or believe the caster's words for a brief period. Cool. Masquerade. I was thinking it is like an illusion spell that is illustrious. You know, I wish that helped narrow it down there, but illustrious. What would be an illustrious illusion? Let's take a look. Is there any illusions around here? I don't know. Let me control F for illusion. Woodland Veil. Up to 100 small or medium creatures chosen by the caster within 125 radius are veiled by illusion, appearing as a copse of tree or an orchid. What the heck? Weird. Phantasm. Classic. Hello, what are we doing today? Hello, how's it going, JF? We are currently making spells for my up-and-coming D&D zine here. Current working title is Make Believe. So, we're adding we're doing a hodgepodge of things. So we've already added some classes. So let me go ahead and mark it all down here. We've added a new Musketeer class. We've added a new Dogfolk race and class. We'll cover the magic items later, but now we're working on some spells, and we are on to 5 spells now. So we got a Foxfire, a Beauty's Allure, a Pool of Potential Prophecy, Illustrious Illusion. I gotta figure out what the heck is an Illustrious Illusion spell here. I'm leaning toward... Man, what is an illustrious illusion? Because I don't want it to just be, you know, like, oh, it's just a phantasmal force, or it's just a static illusion. Like, I want it to be something major. But what is this illustrious illusion? Let's say that man, I'm struggling on this one. Is a temporary fake memory something? Ooh, that's actually dope. Perfect. Alrighty, Poem, that is excellent. So what this illustrious illusion is it gives people a false memory. Illustrious generally means some high level of respect, achievement. Not sure if that helps. No, that's actually perfect. So here's the following. If they fail the saving throw, then you give them the fake memory of either yourself or something or someone you want them to think is of high level, high respect. So yeah, that's perfect. So yeah, and this is a Fey Trickster. This is gonna be for the Fey Trickster class, so that's perfect. So duration, let's go with 1 hour per caster level. Range, let's go the big range. I'm imagining like you do this like in a banquet, you do this in a big crowd, you do this, you know, when you're trying to, you know, rizz up a bunch of people. So we're gonna say that this will have a range of 120 feet. And we'll do the following. So this will also scale. Not only will the duration scale up with your level, but will also affect more and more people. A number of people, of humanoids, equal to, let's go with 10 times caster level, must make a save versus charm, or be charmed by you. What the heck did I just press? During this charm, they either regard you or someone/something as during this charm, they either regard you or someone/something as held in extremely high regard. Yeah, I think that's just a simple one right there. That just immediately like you cast this and it's either like, oh hey, look at this, person. Oh, that's great. Or you cast it and you say, hey gang, as you're charming everyone, you're like, hey gang, just so you know, next town over, there is this statue, and that statue, let me tell you what, that statue has an incredibly excellent history, and everyone's like, oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that statue, we love that statue. It's like, oh yeah. So yeah, I think there's a lot of fun things you can do with that. Now on to Sleeping Frost. Let's dip on over back to my, what do you call these things? My classes. Do I have any class that would be relevant for that? Also, any class that would have frosty spells. Let's take a look. Witch, fairy, enchanted artisan, maybe. Elementalist is probably my go-to already. Maybe runecaster. I'll put these are all just temporary until I get more and more of this, this world together. But this world is going to evolve over the course of time as we add more stuff to it, more spells and more areas, more magic items. The world is going to be shaped by, what we see here. My Lich class probs woods. Good old Lich. I don't know how frequent the Lich class is going to pop up in the fairy tale thing here, but we'll have to see. So we'll go with Elementalist level. Let's go with a level 2. Sleeping Frost. So what are we thinking about for Sleeping Frost? Obviously, the go-to one is it does damage, and you got to make a save, or else you're either slowed or you fall asleep. Like that's just an easy go-to one. So what would a Sleeping Frost be here? What if it's a I mean, that's just such a easy one to go to. It like doubles as both a sleep and damage. Damages and slows. Let's go with the following. It hits an area. Or do we want this to be a cone, or do we want this to be an area like outside of? I might want to go with a cone. I think I might have to. This might have to be like you shoot out from your fingertips. So we're gonna say duration is just gonna be. Since it puts to sleep if it fails, what if it does nothing if they succeed? I don't want it to be just the sleep spell. Like, I want it to be something different. Like, something different than just the traditional sleep spell. I want it to be... First off, let's go over the range here. This will be a cone... 15... let's go with 30 feet. Duration will just be... 1 turn. Damage and sleep seem strong. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like if it's just that, it'll be way too strong. So I'm thinking the following: if they fail the save, then they take damage and they are slowed. That's what I'm leaning toward right now. But if they succeed, then they'll take half the damage, and then no slow. All hit in the area must make save versus breath, or suffer. What's a comparable amount of damage? Because this is our first, like, actual, like, attack spell here. So I figured I got to throw at least one attack spell in this whole debacle. What is a comparable amount of damage for Dolmenwood in particular? Not that I want to be completely, like, always copying Dolmenwood. I just want to, like, go back and forth here. Looking at some good stuff. Because obviously 3rd level is just, when you start throwing down fireballs, which do all the damage. 9d30 damage. That's maybe tile it down to 8d30 instead. Maybe. Because Fireball is just the classic, it does 1d6 per level of caster. Maybe this one will do a d... Maybe this one will do a d4 per caster level. Because you get this at 3rd level. Like, if this is going to be the traditional route of you get level 1, 2 at spell, or you get level 1 spells at 1 to 2, level 2 spells at 3 to 4, etc., etc. Then maybe just having them be either a D3 or a D4 damage. Like, is that OP for old school? I don't really think it is. I'll tentatively put a D3 of damage for now. Maybe change it later. So for 1d3 frost damage, and are slowed, moving at half rate, and moving at half rate and suffer -2 to attack rolls. Taking half the damage on a success. Boom! Just like right there, just 5 easy spells. Foxfire, which is it's an invisibility that casts a light on you. Beauty's Allure, you gain a +2 reaction rolls and loyalty, and you can charm someone with your beauty. Pool of Potential Prophecy lets you declare out some saving throws, and if you get hit by any of those saving throws, you get a +4 to that save. Illustrious Illusion. You can charm people and make them regard yourself or something else in extremely high regard. And Sleeping Frost, you do damage, and they are debuffed. Boom. Great stuff. Look at that. Teamwork makes the dream work, and you all really helped me out there. Great stuff. Alrighty. Next up, let's look at some good old random tables. Yay! Alrighty, so my idea for this first zine here was going to be along the lines of the random tables are going to pertain to the Hex region. This Hex region, I am going to have the following. One of the hexes is going to be all about the town. And then there's going to be other places of interest. There's going to be a haunted house. There's going to be some woods. There's going to be a bridge. So let me just write. Let me write that stuff down. So, haunted house, bridge, forest, maybe a mountain. But I don't want to like start delving into all that because that's going to be the real juicy meat and potatoes there. So let's yeah. Haunted house is where the Lich class hangs out. Pwn, listen here. You can't have a Lich in every single game, okay? If you want to play a Lich, go play Path of the Righteous or Wrath of the Righteous, or yeah, it's Pathmaker, it's Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous. There's so, gosh dang, getting all tripped up on you. Alrighty, so yeah, before I touch up the magical items, because the magical items will tie into the adventure that I'm going to be writing for this as well. The haunted house is going to be the adventure. Random tables. So I want there to be random tables. And the random tables aren't just going to be monster springs out and attacks you. I want there to be just a little bit more depth to it. There will be monsters that just jump out and attack you. But I also want there to be role play and hazards and a bunch of various interesting things. So let's insert a table for my sanity here. Listen, Pwn. It's funny, Pwn. I played in a game where I became a Lich, and like, it's just so funny that I've never ran a game where anyone's become a Lich. And you're just obsessed with it. Although I did offer to run you a game where you started off as a Lich, but we never got around to that. Actually, chat, I'm curious. Would you rather have the following if you're running an adventure, like adventure setting, locale, sandbox, fun stuff? Wrong. So, if you're running an adventure area, would you rather have the following? Would you rather, one, have one big table of random events, and that table includes things like combat and roleplay and hazards? Or would you rather have this? Would you rather have 3 tables, and anytime you want, there you simply roll on the combat table, or you roll on the roleplay table, or you roll on the hazard table? Which do you think is better? 1 big table or 3 smaller tables? I am genuinely curious what you all have to say about that. My Strahd character became a Lich? Yeah, but you didn't get to play it, right? Like, you became a Lich in the grand finale, but we didn't get to play it. But maybe we'll come back to those characters. I need them separate personally. That's where I was thinking. I was thinking instead of having like that, like having them separate also is really helpful too, because it lets you evenly distribute them. versus if you have three, if you have one big table, then you can't have three be even. Not on well, on a D12 table, I guess they could be even, but that's honestly what I was thinking. I was thinking of having the combat table, the roleplay table, and then the hazard table. So like you're walking around, you roll like, oh hey, an encounter occurs, and then you're like, okay, it's gonna be a combat, it's gonna be a roleplay, it's gonna be this. So let's have this first one just be the combat one, which is very like the air quote boring one. This is just the monsters show up, or whatever the case may be. Then we'll look at the roleplay and the hazards. Mind you, the combat one doesn't have to be boring. The combat one can be like, oh hey, there's ghouls here, and the ghouls are, disguised, and they're purposely like ghouls crying against a tree, and then you go up and then turns around and tries to take a swipe at you. So that'll be one of them. So let's kick things off here. So I'm out. Have a good night. See ya, Pone. See ya. How many? This will be the combat table. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's make it an even 10 for each of them. 9, 10. And then let's just copy this. Role play table. And then hazard table. Alrighty, so combat table. Also, another thing. I am So like immediately, I just instinctually just did a D10. I know some people are getting into the habit of doing weighted tables, and the weighted table works as follows: you have a table that is 2 through 12, and you roll 2d6, and that means the things in the middle are more likely, and then the things in the outskirts are less likely. I don't know if I want to do that here though, because what ends up happening is when you have those bell curve tables, just those things just happen so much more. So I may just keep it as a D10 table here. Also, something I've been doing for my games in particular is I'll have a table of encounters, and the encounters will always just be like random. Like number 2 could be deadly, and then number 7 could be deadly, but then like everything else in between is all over the place. But whatever the last number is, I'll have that be roll on the next table. And the next table will be more crazy things. Like if it is a combat table, then it will be on a D12. 1 through 11 on the first table is normal whatever. But then table 2, if you roll a 12, go on to table 2, then that table will be much stronger. And then even furthermore, in my West Marches game, I actually have it where there is a third table involved. So if you get to that third table, that's when the legendary monsters start coming out. But for the instance of this, I'll just keep it simple, because this is just exploring a small little region here. So combat table, let's say on this first one here, this will be 2d4 ghouls disguised as farmers are heard crying off to the side. Boom. You're walking around, all of a sudden you hear some people sobbing. You go up to them. Hey, what's wrong? Turns around. Boom. They get into a fight. Or now I'm starting to get into the weeds here on this. I could have the following. I could have each table therein be, you roll a d10, and then it's like, oh hey, it's a ghouls, but then you have a separate table attached to that as well, and you roll once again, and it's like, oh hey, they are in the trees, they are in the bushes, they are underground, they are disguised. I could go along that line. How would you go about starting to build out a fighter necromancer class? How I would go about doing that is as follows. I would definitely lean in on. I'd lean in on the martial side of things for sure, in regards of like a lot of their spells being touch spells. So the touch spells would be along the lines of doing damage, draining, like draining and healing in yourself. So like you injure someone, then you heal that much. A bunch of things like that. I think the biggest thing though is, in addition to the spells being closer range versus big old spells that shoot off to the side, when it comes to the necromancy raising dead side of things, I would definitely lean in on the fighter necromancer type being a leader. I would definitely, instead, like, because oftentimes when you think of the necromancer, you think of them sitting in the back and pointing their finger. I would have the fighter necromancer be buffed, or the undead would be buffed by the fighter fighting alongside them. That is where I would start out in that regard. So melee touching spells, close range spells, and fighter getting a bonus of some kind, some way, somehow by fighting amongst their troops. That's actually a very. I'm gonna have to write. I'm sad to say I'm gonna have to maybe write this stuff down here on my handy dandy little notebook. Fighter Mancer. Yeah, I wanted someone up in the front with them. Cool, good ideas. Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah, that's because, like, typically, once again, you think of the necromancer and they're just chilling in the back. They point their finger. They're casting spells. Only meanwhile, all the undead are getting blown up. But the fighter necromancer being up there, either buffing themselves and or buffing their homies that they have raised up. Great stuff. But now, yeah. So I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to go on this table here. I'm going to add a third slot. Insert to the right, and I am going to say that that third slot there is going to be like add the flavor. So disguised and off to side. Heard crying. Disguised and heard. Disguised and off to side. Heard crying. So actually, this table may not work in regards to. This table won't work with certain types of monsters, like disguised and off to side, heard crying. But like I'm not gonna put it on this table, but a dragon I don't think would work out too well. Or maybe it would. I'll write out the rest of the monsters, and then I'll see if like I can come up with a whole bunch of other ideas on like what the heck they're doing here. 2d4 ghouls, 3d6 goblins. What's in my fairy tale environment? I've got listed animated objects. I'm going to be creating animated object monsters for the haunted house adventure that I'm going to be writing for this one. So I'm not too concerned about that. Let's go with bandits. 2d10 bandits. What else are we looking at here? Fairy tale setting. Let's go with living trees or shrubbery here. 1d4 living shrubs. Oh, gosh darn it. Gotta scoot that just a little more. What else is floating around this fairy tale neck of the woods? Once again, I am going to be looking to Dolmenwood here. Let's take a look at the... First off, this freaking DM screen is absolutely impeccably awesome. Goodness gracious. Or not DM screen, this... well, the DM screen is awesome too, but this character sheet is excellent. Oozing with flavor. Great, great. Now let's go to referee screen. This referee screen is fantastic. Bears, carrion, rats, weasels, wolves. Okay. Let's go 3d6 wolf. Yeah, the wolves wouldn't make sense for the... Yeah, I think I'm going to have to abandon the idea of having a specialized portion of the encounter table for generic monsters. But what I will do in the future is, I'll have just a purely, like, human... or like humanoid random table, and then off to the side I'll have like, oh, disguised, and off to the side heard crying, oh, hiding in the tree, etc., etc. So, but I don't think for like a generic list I'll be able to have the thing off to the side there. So let me delete. How do I delete row column? The column, and let's expand you out some. Wolves. Um, 1d4 plus 1 bears. Actually, now I'm looking at it, like, this is also a really great example of how to do a encounter table here. Is you do, okay, are they going up against an animal, a monster, a mortal, or a sentient? Like, that's a really great way to go about it. But once again, I'm just going for generic right now, and then I'll be expanding upon it later. 1d6 snakes. Let's go with a good old-fashioned... trying to think of what I want in regards of flavor here. uh, 1d8 centipedes. Need something flying. So probably Sturges. So 2d10 Sturges. And just to quickly cap out on the combat, generic combat table here. Let's go with something fairy. So something fey, something unnatural. Let's go with... Let's go with 1d6 red caps. Why not? Alrighty. Role play table. Someone or some things come out. Let's go 3d10 farmers heading back to town. Sir Ramsley and 1d4 knights patrolling the area, looking for a convict. A 1d4 wandering minstrels who will, for a price, entertain the party. A leprechaun. Man, I butchered leprechaun. Goodness gracious. A leprechaun that is willing to make a deal in exchange for a not so real pot of gold. Let's go with a convict attempting to evade the law. Halfway there. Halfway there. Let's go with a fortune teller who tells fortunes. Let's go with a mysterious fortune teller that tells fortunes. Mysterious fortune teller that tells fortunes that are far too... What's the word I'm looking for? They're that tells fortunes that are far too intimate, maybe far too specific, far too outlandish. I'll go with outlandish for now. What about... Yeah, every single time I'm just getting more and more stumped. Thinking about some interesting things to liven up an adventure in a fairy tale setting. A grumpy troll making its way back to its bridge. A gingerbread man that is far too slow for its own good. Just two more. Just two more. So close. I really hate my beard. I need to shave. This thing itches. It's hot. It's miserable. Goodness gracious. A disgruntled goose. Disgruntled goose that has recently lost its... Thank you, lady. And... one more fairy tale feeling thing. You know, I need to look at... I got a book here of all the fairy tales. All right. Look at this. Big book. Big book. Alrighty. There are 210 different fairy tales in this book. Let's go with... Man, what a fantastic Grimm's fairy tale. The Devil and His Grandmother. I'm gonna look that up right now. The Devil and His Grandmother. How many pages is it? It's only like 3 pages. There was a great war, and the king had many soldiers, but gave them small pay, so small that they could not live upon it. So 3 of them agreed among themselves to desert. One of them said to the others, "If we are caught, we shall be hanged on the gallows. How shall we manage it?" Another said, "Look at the great cornfield. If we were to hide ourselves there, no one could find us. The troops are not allowed to enter it, and tomorrow they are to march away." They crept into the corn, only the troops did not march away. They remained lying all around it. They stayed in the corn for 2 days and 2 nights, and were so hungry that they all but died. But if they had come out, their death would have been certain. Then said they, "What is the use of our deserting, if we have perished a miserable here?" But now a fiery dragon came flying through the air and came down to them, and asked why they had concealed themselves there. What is going on? Oh my... I thought I was about to read about a devil and his grandma. Okay. I'm gonna read through every single one of these at some point, but I'm absolutely fascinated with the old fairy tales there. I think for the last one, it's just gonna be a kindly grandmother looking to invite people for her stew. Boom. Easy peasy. Maybe I should just create a whole channel where I just read out all of these Grimm's fairy tales. Might have to get on that. Alrighty, hazard table. Alrighty, so what are some fun hazards that could befall our poor, unfortunate players? Hazard table. A golden apple that poisons any who bite it. Bite into it. The weather changes drastically. Something I'm gonna be doing for this zine is I'm gonna have a weather table that's like it's a hex flower. So you start in the center, and then every day you roll, and the weather can't change outside of like it can't go from 60 degrees cold and damp to all of a sudden 100 degrees muggy or whatever. Like it goes by a normal rotation, except for magical instances where the weather does change. Weather changes. Golden apple. A confusing mist. Save versus breath, or be turned around for a day. What are some good hazards to be had in a generic location? Because this first like portion, I'm just getting like generic stuff out of the way, but then I'm gonna be diving into the real meat and potatoes, the real nitty gritty to make this place come to life. Let's go with the trees grow angry, throwing leaves at the party for 1d4 damage each. Mushroom. A mushroom shoots out a poison spray at one person. Save versus poison. Or Cursed Mirror. That's, I don't know, I'll have to put that one. Save versus poison, or I don't want it to just be like poison. I want it to be like fun. Save versus poison, or only tell lies. A cursed mirror, a cursed mirror. What does the cursed mirror do? The cursed mirror recently put a cursed mirror in front of my players. I think this cursed Raw did it. I'm like having a brain melt here. What's Raw? Raw. Rules is written. What is this for Curse of Strahd? Trying to think of all the cursed mirrors in all the games. Yep. How would I know? Lucky guess, me. Let's go with this cursed mirror. Cursed mirror gives self-doubt. All who gaze upon it must save versus magic or suffer -2 to attacks and saves until rest. Let's go with creeping mist. Save versus magic or I already have the confusing mist and you're turned around for a day. Let's have this creeping mist be or Let's just have the Creeping Mist be Creeping Mist. Only can only see for 30 feet. Another hazard. What's a good hazard these days? Let's go with once again, I'm gonna be looking at this Grimm's Fairy Tale thing. Anything that pops out at me. What a weird list of titles here. We've got How 6 Men Got On in the World. We've got The Death of the Little Hen. I don't want to read that. That sucks. The Goose Girl. Dr. Know-All. The Devil's Sooty Brother. The King's Son Who Feared Nothing. I wonder what that's about. I wonder what that's about. One Eye, Two Eyes, and Three Eyes. Ugh. Snow White and Rose Red. Who the heck is Rose Red? 664. Once was a poor widow who lived in a lonely cottage. In front of the cottage was a garden wherein stood 2 rose trees, one of which bore white and the other bore red roses. She had 2 children who were like the 2 rose trees, and one was called Snow White and the other Rose Red. I'm going to have to read through all these. This will be fascinating research here. Let's go with another hazard being... Donkey Cabbages? What is with these titles? Oh, perfect. Bread crumbs leading to a bear trap. Just 2 more. Just 2 more. Let's go with... Let's go with like a quicksand, but let's go with a patch of quick grass. Like quicksand. And one more. Let's have something falling from the sky. Let's have a. What's falling from the sky these days in Fairy Tale Land? A large bone falling from the sky. Boom. Alrighty. Yeah. I think this is just a quick little generic thing of random encounters to be had therein in this little biome. Which, by the way, this biome is going to be it'll be a 19 hex flower. Like, in the center will be the town, and then everywhere out will be places to adventure. So I think I'm already pretty Gucci with that. Let's mark that. Boop. Alrighty, I'm going to add the monsters later when I'm doing the haunted house. So let's put a hold on that. Game advice, keep the game moving. Something I want to do for the zine is add bits just to, aid players and DMs alike. And I think something that people need to discover is, keeping the game moving is a lot more enjoyable than the game not moving. So I'll be writing an article about that. And, yeah. Oh, for game mechanics, I'll put good old, what do you call it thing? Weather hex flower. Alrighty. Let's I think that's pretty good for today. I've did some good writing, some good work, got some good foundation, and I understand a bit more about where I'm going with this product. But the thing about me is I work on a bunch of other things, and I'm also going to be pumping out some more videos. So I'm just completely consistently inconsistent with what I'm working on at a current time, but I'm really looking forward to pumping this out, getting some stuff done, and pumping some art in here, because I think the art will make it come to life. And I'm really excited for that. So yeah, I think I'm pretty good to stop at that for today, or at least on camera anyway. So let's dive on back. So with that. Where's me again? Boom. Alrighty. Yeah, so I'm going to wrap things up in a couple of minutes here. So if anybody has any questions, concerns, gripes, moans, complaints, or general observations, feel free to voice them now. I am more than willing and able and ready to address them. Got some new people in here. I got a donation that was pretty baller. I got some old viewers and new viewers in here. Great stuff all around. Ah. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, so I think so tomorrow I'm going to be filming a bunch of things, and then I know for a fact I'll have a video up by Wednesday. And then I plan on I've got a bunch of things that I'm going to be releasing, so I'm probably going to be pumping out 2 videos a week for the next month at the least. So I'm looking forward to diving back into this content, dumping bandwagon or dumping train here, I guess. But the next couple of videos are going to be about Dolmenwood, and then I'll be pumping out the videos about my version of D&D, and get some good stuff all around. All right. I will sign off in 1 minute. Unless anyone has anything to try and stop me from doing so. I need to figure out how to do all the fancy streamer stuff as well, getting all the little text blurbs to pop up and how to put in music and all that. I'm sorely lacking in content creator goodness here, but I'm trying my darndest. Thanks, dude. No problem, Justin. All right, well, that's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. Literally any interaction at all whatsoever goes an incredibly long way. Thank you for the donation. Thank you for all that great stuff. Feel free to join the Discord if you haven't already. Running some games there. And that's pretty much it. So until next time, I'm going to try and get some sort of regular schedule going now that my schedule is now fixed up. So here's looking to seeing and playing with you all next time. See ya!